Have you ever stopped to wonder about the shape of time itself? It sounds like a strange question, right? But if time did have a shape, what would it be? And more importantly, what would that shape tell us about where we've been and where we're going?
Okay, let's dive right in. For thousands of years, some of the greatest thinkers and entire civilizations have wrestled with this exact idea. And they've basically landed on two very different, very powerful answers about the fundamental nature of history.
And this is really the core of it all. Are we on some kind of one-way journey to a final destination, or are we just caught in a great cosmic loop, destined to see the same things happen over and over again? The way you answer that question, well, it changes absolutely everything.
So we can think of these two big ideas as a circle and a line. The circle tells us that time is cyclical. What has happened before will happen again. Even a total societal collapse isn't an end. It's just a normal part of the rhythm. But the line, that tells a completely different story. It says history is a one-way street, with a clear beginning, a middle, and a final definitive end.
So let's start with the circle. We're going to look at how some of the world's oldest traditions see time not as an arrow shot into the future, but as this massive, repeating wheel. This is the cyclical view of time. What's so interesting about this model is how it completely flips our modern idea of an apocalypse on its head. In this view, the end of an era isn't some final tragedy to be feared. No, it's just an expected part of the pattern. It's basically a necessary reset before everything begins again, which means collapse is just normal.
To really get this, let's dig into Hindu thought, especially in texts like the Vishnu Purana. Here, the universe isn't some static thing. It's alive, it's in constant motion, moving through this huge cycle of 4 distinct ages. They call them the Yugas. And this lays out the core idea perfectly. The Yugas tell a story of a slow, gradual decay. It all starts in a perfect golden age of truth, the Satya Yuga. But with each age that passes, Dharma, which you can think of as cosmic law or moral order, fades away until we eventually end up in the Kali Yuga, a final age of darkness and conflict. But here's the twist. Even that darkest age isn't the end of the story. The destruction that happens at the end of the Kali Yuga isn't a final judgment. It's more like a cosmic forest fire that clears the slate, making way for a brand new golden age to begin. And then the whole cycle starts all over again. Now, if we shift over to Buddhism, we see a similar idea, but they take it to a scale that is just mind-bogglingly huge. In Buddhist texts, these cycles are called kalpas, and they don't just describe the age of a world, but the entire lifespan of entire world systems. What's really striking here is how impersonal the whole thing is. In this view, there's no divine judge pulling the strings. It's just a natural law of the universe, almost like gravity. Worlds form, they live, they fall apart into nothingness, and then eventually they form again. It's all just endless cause and effect. And this leads to a really fascinating conclusion. If the wheel of time and suffering is just going to keep on turning forever, then what's the point? The ultimate goal isn't to win the game or have the best life inside the system. The real goal is to get off the ride completely, to achieve liberation, what's known as nirvana, and step outside of that endless cycle for good. Okay, so we've been spinning around in circles. Now let's completely change gears and talk about that other shape, the line. This is a radically different model, one that has profoundly shaped the Western world. It sees time as an arrow, shot from a bow, flying in one direction. This idea is absolutely central to the Abrahamic traditions. That's Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It gives history a unique purpose, a real sense of urgency. Every single moment is precious because it's never coming back. The clock is always ticking forward, never ever back. And you can see here just how different this is from the circle. There's one single creation event. Humanity's story gets to play out exactly once. And it's all moving toward one final, definitive conclusion. A day of judgment that isn't a reset button, but an irreversible final end. This worldview gives history and our individual actions an incredible amount of weight. What you do matters, permanently. Because in this story, there are no do-overs. The end of the world is exactly what it sounds like. The end. So, we have the circle, and we have the line. Pretty interesting stuff. But so what? Why does any of this actually matter to us today, living our lives thousands of years after these ideas were born? Well, this comparison really spells out the huge psychological difference.
I mean, if you believe an apocalypse is just a natural reset, you might face hard times with a certain kind of cosmic patience. But if you believe it's a final, one-time judgment, well, there's a huge urgency to get things right before your time is up.
And don't for a second think this is just some ancient, abstract philosophy. These ideas are baked into our modern world. Just think about the way we talk about the cyclical nature of the economy, the booms and the busts. Now compare that to the linear belief in endless technological progress. These ancient shapes of time are hiding in plain sight, influencing everything around us.
So, let's bring this all home. Let's forget about cosmic ages for a minute and just think about your own life, your own sense of time. How do these huge ideas actually show up in the way you live every day? And this is really the heart of it all. Your personal philosophy of time, whether you even know you have one, is dictating your sense of purpose right now. It shapes your goals, your ambitions, and even how you react when things go wrong. These beliefs don't just shape civilizations, they shape our individual lives too.
So I'll leave you with that question. Do you see your own life as a series of repeating patterns and seasons, finding comfort in that rhythm? Or do you see it more like a single story, a straight line moving towards a final, unique chapter? There's no right or wrong answer, but just thinking about which shape feels more true to you, well, it might just tell you a whole lot about yourself.